Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Wilson. I use he, him pronouns, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this first New Year's service at the First Universalist Church of Rochester. If you are here for the first time, or maybe the second time this morning, we especially welcome you. Thank you for making it to our worshiping community. We just want to extend the welcome that you belong because you are here and that you are you. We invite everybody to remain afterwards for a coffee hour in the Clara Barton Lounge behind me or online in the same Zoom link. There is also a visitor's form in the back of your order of service, or online there's a link you can click. We ask you to fill that out so that we can offer a welcome beyond what we can offer this morning and keep you up to date as to what's going on here at the church. As a reminder, if you have a big joy or sorrow in your heart this morning, we invite you to write it up here in the notebook on the chancel. or online in the Zoom meeting chat before the chalice is lit. So now is a good time online, or when we go to do our group welcome in a moment would be a good time in person. I'll turn your attention to the announcement section of your order of service. We do have a newcomer circle today after service in the minister's office on the second floor. So if you'd like to learn more about our faith or what it means to become a member in this congregation, join us after service upstairs. Take a moment, grab some coffee, and then head on up. If you're interested in being an usher or a greeter, we have a training next Sunday. We could always use more ushers and greeters, so join us for that. And then keep your eyes posted on dinner church coming January 20th, the evening of January 20th. Lastly, we're in winter weather, clearly, so if you are parking in the Washington Square garage instead of on the street, we do have some one-time use parking passes, so just come and see me for those. Okay, before we take a moment to turn towards our neighbors in person, let's say hello to our online community. Let's wave towards the Progress Pride flag in the back there where the camera is. We're so happy you're joining us here this morning, and if you're online, offer a greeting to each other in the chat. And for those of us here in person, let's take a moment, turn towards our neighbors, and say hello.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Reverend Eileen, she, her. I want to invite you to stay standing if you already are, or to rise in body or in spirit as we sing our first hymn. The number is a misprint in your order of service. It's number 1011, 1011 in the teal hymnal, or its words are on the screens in front of you.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Osta, she, her, and it's my privilege to welcome you to 2026. If anyone has any ideas of where 225 went, would you please let us know? Several of us are still looking for it. I remember a time in the 1960s in my wanderings and wonderings, I discovered a musical group called Spanky and Our Gang, with whom I became completely enamored. Their songs were iconic for me. They were known for their vocal harmonies with major hits in the United States and Canada in 67 and 68. Some of you might remember such songs as Sunday Will Never Be the Same, Lazy Day, Sunday Morning, Like to Get to Know You, and Give a Damn. Their lyrics put words to much of what I was feeling in those days of confusion, not unlike these days. Their first appearance, but not their last, was on The Ed Sullivan Show, December 17th, 1967, and they featured their song, Lazy Day. Their simple wisdom touched many. Blue skies, sunshine, flowers blooming, children saying hello, people smiling everywhere you go. What a day to be together. What a sky of blue, and what a day for thinking right out loud, I love you. Lazy day, just right for loving away. Another favorite from that era that often comes to mind when I'm on a tear to get things done at sometimes too rapid a speed is 59th Street Bridge Song, sung by none other than Simon and Garfunkel. Where else in that era could we find such profound and spiritual inspiration with lyrics that creep into your soul? Slow down, you move too fast. You gotta make the morning last, just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. I thought of these songs almost immediately when Reverend Eileen mentioned this morning's focus. The reminder to slow down, enjoy the present moment, find pleasure in life's simple moments are not just feel-good ideas. I'm continuing to realize they are, in a sense, the building blocks of a fulfilling life. High blood pressure, heart attacks, panic attacks, anxiety, breathlessness, frayed relationships, angry moments seem to cluster around going too fast. Yet, some of us are wired with an internal speedometer set on high. The quest to not miss anything sometimes propels us to miss everything as we rush from one activity to the next. Not that I know anything about that. I've just read about it. As part of my treatment for breast cancer, I took Tai Chi. Now there's a slowdown. Phew. This ancient Chinese martial art of the internal style brought me a new perspective to stillness. Meditation became another gift from those days of inactivity where I tuned in to my body and tuned out other distractions. During those days at Christmas time, I heard a line from Handel's Messiah that has stayed with me. He is like a refiner's fire. I remember breathing in and breathing out with a measured pace, knowing the gift of these skills that just might be a lesson for a lifetime. Having just wrapped up the Christmas season, I'm so ready to learn again. Come, let us breathe and worship together. As Brian Moomey comes to light our chalice, and you light your chalice at home, would you join me in the chalice lighting words, spoken in unison? May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit. And may we reach out to serve our community. Please rise in body or in spirit for our affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. Seek knowledge and freedom. With each other and with all. Someone just told me you can literally deposit a check in your bank account by taking a picture of them. And with a click here and there, your money can be in your account. If that's the case, it seems like money can come out just as easily and be used to support our favorite organizations. Our blessing is that this church can accept slow donations as well as online ones, and this all helps us as we continue to nurture our spirit and serve our community. Please place your offerings in the offering basket or give online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. This is also a great time to place visitors' forms in the offering basket. For folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received.
Now it's time for a story. If you're a young person or even an older person and you want to hear the story a little better, you are welcome to come sit up front. There are some slides with this story, so sit somewhere where you can see the screens. Good morning, Jojo. Meow, meow. Meow, meow. This is one of my favorite books of all time that we're going to hear this morning. And I think we're pulling up some story slides while I talk with you about it. But it's called Owl Moon by Jane Yolen. And this is a story about being slow and quiet and soft and holding still and waiting patiently. Does anybody feel like those are kind of hard things to do? Who feels like it's hard to do those things? Yeah, I would invite you to look around at which grown-ups feel like it's hard to do those things. Who feels like they can only do them with a lot of practice? Yeah, me too. Which is why we practice those kind of things in church sometimes, right? Sometimes we're not that still and we're not that quiet. We move our bodies and we dance and we sing and we clap and we make noise. And sometimes we practice being still and soft and patient. And that's what the story is about this morning. And it starts like this. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. There was no wind. The trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew long and low like a sad, sad song. I could hear it through the woolen cap Pa had pulled down over my ears. A farm dog answered the train, and then a second dog joined in. They sang out trains and dogs for a real long time. And when their voices faded away, it was quiet as a dream. We walked on towards the woods, Pa and I. Our feet crunched over the crisp snow, and little gray footprints followed us. Pa made a long shadow, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short, round shadow bumped after me. But I never called out. If you go owling, you have to be quiet. That's what Pa always says. I had been waiting to go owling with Pa for a long, long time. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy against the sky, and Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was and waited. He looked up as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made his face into a silver mask. Then he called, "Ooh, ooh, 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 ooh," the sound of the great horned owl. Ooh, 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 ooh. Again, he called out, and then again. After each call, he was silent for a moment. We both listened, but there was no answer. Pa shrugged, and I shrugged. I was not disappointed. My brothers all said, sometimes there's an owl, and sometimes there isn't. We walked on. I could feel the cold as if someone's icy hand was palmed down on my back, and my nose and the tops of my cheeks felt cold and hot at the same time. But I never said a word. If you go owling, you have to be quiet and make your own heat. We went into the woods. The shadows were the blackest things I'd ever seen. They stained the white snow. My mouth felt furry, for the scarf over it was wet and warm. I didn't ask what kinds of things hide behind black trees in the middle of the night. When you go owling, You have to be brave. Then we came to the clearing in the dark woods. The moon was high above us. It seemed to fit exactly over the center of the clearing, and the snow below it was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. I sighed, and Pa held up his hand at the sound. I put my mittens over the scarf over my mouth and listened hard. Then Pa called. Can you do it with me? Ooh, 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 ooh. I listened and looked so hard my ears hurt and my eyes got cloudy with cold. Pa raised his face to call out again, but before he could open his mouth, an echo came threading its way through the trees. And what do you think it sounded like? Ooh, 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 ooh. Pa almost smiled. Then he called back. Ooh, 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 ooh. Just as if he and the owl were talking about supper or about the woods or the moon or the cold. I took my mitten off the scarf off my mouth, and I almost smiled too. The owl's call came closer from high in the trees on the edge of the meadow. Nothing in the meadow moved. All of a sudden, an owl shadow, part of the big tree shadow, lifted off and flew right over us. We watched silently with heat in our mouths, the heat of all those words we had not spoken. The shadow hooted again. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, we stared at one another. Then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without sound. It flew back into the forest. Time to go home, Pa said to me. I knew then I could talk. I could even laugh out loud. But I was a shadow as we walked home. When you go owling, you don't need words or warm or anything but hope. That's what Pa says. The kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. This is the end of our story. Can I ask you, why do you think we told this story this morning? Ewan, what do you think?
It's winter.
Because it's winter? That is one of the reasons. I rarely tell this story in the summertime. Yeah, it feels very wintry. What else? What do you think, Jojo?
I don't know.
You're not sure? Willow, what do you think?
Sometimes shy people need a gentle touch to communicate with.
Oh, sometimes shy, like maybe the owl's a metaphor for a person who needs you to be quiet and approach slowly and call out and wait. That could be. Any other thoughts? Well, I will let all of us keep thinking about it more and reflecting on the story. And now it is time to go to religious education. So as the children make their way out the door and up the stairs, if you'd like to, you can place your hand over your heart to be able to listen from this heart-centered place. We know so much is going on in our world today. And if you have joys or sorrows to share on behalf of our national and global community, you are encouraged to do so today and every Sunday. As Elizabeth places stones into a bowl, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows of our gathered community. We share this morning, so many of us, sorrow and concern about acts of war in Venezuela. We share with Michael thoughts and prayers for Kelly, whose cancer surgery is scheduled for this Thursday. We share gratitude with Eileen, who is thankful to this wonderful congregation for its support and caring at this difficult time, and a special thanks from her to Clinton and Brian. We share great joy with Zeppelin for the new year and things to come, and sorrow around housing and security. We share with Beth gratitude for a church family who gives their love and support as she navigates her new reality. We share thankfulness with John for all who have shown compassion and care for all of us. We share a joy with Rowan at being in church, our home, and support of her wife. We share with Bridget a sorrow at the death of her aunt, Sally Fallhaber, who died this week, and a joy that she was active and intelligent to the end of her long life. And we share one feeling that doesn't know if it's a sorrow or a joy, a recent arrest for something that felt justified for the sake of helping people, saving them from harm, and a prayer for a speedy and positive resolution. Today, we also share in a ritual to honor the many joys and sorrows we bring into this space, whether they are read aloud or kept in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. So in a moment here, those here in person are invited to come forward to drop stones into the bowl at the front. If you need to remain seated, you can raise your hand and someone will come to you with a bowl and stones to drop in it. If you're joining us online, please send a heart emoji in the meeting chat. And let us now join in this collective ritual of honoring the joys and the sorrows of us all. Now the circle of our care is drawn larger. May it increase forevermore. And invite you now into a time of prayer and centering, followed by some shared silence. So let's take a deep breath. And as we let it out, let us feel connected to the good earth that holds us, this good community that holds us. Let us sit in the support of one another and of the world. Let us lift up our prayers to a love that leaves no one out. We hold so much in our hearts this morning. May we remember to be rooted, to be grounded, to find that still small voice within us, even in the midst of what feels like a storm. Off we tromp, the dog and I, over the winter field with snow so deep and wet that I lift my knees nearly to my chest to move through it. Just a quick walk, I tell the brown ball of fluff turning white with clinging snow as he bounces along. I have so much to hurry home to. This creature, who does not understand the meaning of schedule, hesitates at every bare twig pushing up through the weight of winter, pauses to bury his head and sniff for sleeping rabbits in unseen warrens, stops to listen, front paw pointing with the grace of long-past ancestors at every bird call. We watch the lazy nuthatch do her upside-down dance on an old oak as we near the trail leading deep into the winter woods. The dog looks up at me, pleading but silent. Silent also are the bare trees, having long ago sent all their energy into the earth to rest. I sigh and start down the long trail, one measured footstep after another, joyous friend at my heel. Who am I to rush when every blessed bit of creation is calling out in this season, go slowly, go slowly. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Our hymn of contemplation this morning is number 123, Spirit of Life. I'd like to offer you a reading by Parker Palmer. Like a wild animal, the soul is tough, resilient, resourceful, savvy, and self-sufficient. It knows how to survive in hard places. I learned about these qualities during my bouts with depression. In that deadly darkness, the faculties that I had always depended on collapsed. My intellect was useless. My emotions were dead. My will was impotent. My ego shattered. But from time to time, deep in the thickets of my inner wilderness, I could sense the presence of something that knew how to stay alive even when the rest of me wanted to die. That something was my tough and tenacious soul. Yet despite its toughness, the soul is shy, just like a wild animal. It seeks safety in the dense underbrush, especially when other people are around. If we want to see a wild animal, we know that the last thing we should do is go crashing through the woods yelling for it to come out. But if we will walk quietly into the woods, sit patiently at the base of a tree, breathe with the earth, and fade into our surroundings, the wild creature we seek might put in an appearance. We may only see it briefly and only out of the corner of an eye, but the sight is a gift we will always treasure as an end in itself. Unfortunately, community in our culture too often means a group of people who go crashing through the woods together, scaring the soul away. In spaces ranging from congregations to classrooms, we preach and teach, assert and argue, claim and proclaim, admonish and advise, and generally behave in ways that drive everything original and wild into hiding. Under these conditions, the intellect, emotions, will, and ego may emerge, but not the soul. We scare off all the soulful things, like respectful relationships, goodwill, and hope. A circle of trust is a group of people who know how to sit quietly in the woods with each other and wait for the shy soul to show up. The relationships in such a group are not pushy, but patient. They are not confrontational, but compassionate. They are filled not with expectations and demands, but with abiding faith in the reality of the inner teacher and in each person's capacity to learn from it. When I started my ministerial internship in Albany in August of 2017, my supervisor charged me with connecting to the immigration justice community and exploring the possibility of the congregation becoming a sanctuary site, a place where our undocumented immigrant neighbors facing deportation or detainment could stay safely for possibly up to a year. ICE had a policy back then prohibiting them from entering churches, schools, and hospitals to make arrests, and we wanted to leverage that for the safety of our community. I quickly got connected to the local folks doing the work in this area, built an immigration justice group in the congregation, and researched the legal and logistical risks of becoming a sanctuary site. I went to my supervisor in late September and I said, I think we can do it. I'd like us to call a congregational meeting in October, and I believe this decision will pass with a majority. This supervisor, who was in his 20th year or more at that congregation, he laughed in my face. Slow down, he said. Great leadership, but you need to move a church at a much slower speed. Take the year that you're here with us. Listen to the people. Wait patiently for what will come up. You could wrangle a majority vote tomorrow, I'm sure. But this is going to be, if this is going to be, a long-term ministry, we need you to slowly and softly build consensus, not majority. I can admit to you, I hated that. I felt the pressing need for safety from a violent regime that was not moving slowly, was not taking its time. I wanted to push us off the cliff. I had the power of authority and novelty and fear behind me, and I wanted to wield them for good. I can also admit to you now that he was right. I could have forced a decision, but it wouldn't have become a long-standing ministry with the emotional and relational support behind it that was needed to actually help our community. I did take the time. We held listening sessions. We got volunteer lawyers to have lunch with elders who had valid concerns about the risks to congregational resources and how to mitigate them. We built lasting relationships with immigrants and their families so that we were able to act in solidarity and not saviorism. We were able to learn and meet about how to meet other needs, like transportation to and from the detention center in Batavia, and ride sharing to avoid the danger of traffic stops for undocumented people, legal aid for the asylum process. We built relationships with neighbors whose values and energy were directed toward the same effort, so that when we ultimately did become a sanctuary site, we did so in partnership with the Quakers next door, who did not have the congregants to support a long-term resident, but did own an apartment over their worship space. We took a year of religious education for children and adults around immigration justice. And when we voted to become a sanctuary site in June, the decision was unanimous. And the slowness of the process, the softness of the approach, was much more powerful than the force of my personal power could ever have hoped to be. So I want to invite us at the start of this new year and this seasonal theme of power, which begins today, not to go charging forward with resolution and individual purpose. I want to invite us to come into power softly, slowly, collectively. We have been sold a reality where all our value lies in a frenzied spiral of work and consumption. Even our rest is viewed as a means to better work, to more efficiency. We are called by the culture of consumptive capitalism to be more resolute, to be rugged individuals who stand alone in our work and our worth. And maybe this year, we do as the new mayor of New York said in his inaugural address, and replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. Can we find a way to stay soft together, to carry the softness of vulnerability with us, to move at the pace of the whole and not the individual? Can we hold power differently this year? I work as a birth doula when I'm not doing congregational work with you, and I helped 6 people have babies in 2025. And as we move through the season of Christmas, the celebration of a particular birth, I have spent a lot of time reflecting on the spirituality of birth. You will know this if you have given birth or witnessed one since your own, but birth is a great softening. That's true physiologically. Birthing people produce extra relaxin, the hormone that makes connective tissue soft and stretchy. We're in a millions of years long evolutionary negotiation as a species between growing small pelvises that let us walk on 2 legs and big old noggins that let us use tools and speak to one another and build community, versus being able to be relatively safely get ourselves born. So literally, softening of muscles and connective tissue is necessary to do the work of shaking the tiny, squishy pillow of a person through the pillowcase of a human pelvis, if you will. New parents do not love it when I use that kind of metaphor during their births. But it fits. It's not just the softening of anatomy that happens during birth. There is an enormous emotional softening that's happening too. A birthing person has to bear some of the most intense full-bodied pain they will ever experience. They have to let go of their cultural need for speed too, because in the best case scenarios, they need to trust in the spontaneity of their body's processes, not knowing at what rate the process will progress, how long it will take, or even which parts will come in which order. It is a bone-deep spiritual reordering of a person's sense of control, often while facing a medical system that doesn't trust that person with bodily autonomy. It requires finding the power in extreme vulnerability. And just as a reminder, that's not something we're great at as a culture. I have witnessed over and over how birth, however it happens, is a function of the power of softness and slowness. I will watch a person go through this radical softening of their being, an absolute food processor of their very humanity, and then hold a brand new human on their chest and say to me, "This is the best day of my life." That is a spiritual transformation, if there ever was one. I think that, when you come right down to it, is the heart of the story of the Epiphany, which will be celebrated on Tuesday. The story of 3 kings crossing a whole desert just to look at a baby, being so overtaken with wonder and awe that they risk everything to save this little stranger's life. I have a friend who's a religious educator who always says she'd prefer it if every meeting had at least one baby in it. People really just behave better to one another in the presence of a baby somehow, she said. Babies have a spiritual power to soften us. Beyond birth, even, to care for and love a child is a great softening. It is a heart-softening process to hold such ferocious love and protectiveness for people who will, we hope, go off into the world without us. Loving children brings our own inner child to the surface of our being, and we will have to be gentle with all of their hurts so that we are able to be gentle with the children in our communities. There is, in holding the responsibility for another person's care, for another person's life, an enormous softening of the ego, a massive exercise in humility. Because in choosing caregiving work, choosing parenthood or elder care, or taking on the work of another person's needs, we quickly realize how inadequate we are, right? I think I spent the first couple weeks of parenthood just saying to anyone who would listen at every turn, this isn't a one-person job. This isn't a two-person job. This is so much bigger than us. And if you are a person who has ever tried to be at a place at a time with a baby, you know that there is also this softening and slowing, this loss of control over time that we have been told is the right way to live. And it was terrifying for me at the time to go through this process. But having allowed my ego and my fears to continue softening considerably since then, it's also a blessing. Not because, and do not get me wrong about this, not because my kids are here to make me a better person, but because I am here to become my truest, deepest, best, fullest self for the sake of all the beings I love and am accountable to, including myself. We have had the experience as a congregation of children suddenly showing up amongst us. There are, much to all of our surprise, more children than we expected and have had recently in the past. And the response, yes, I see MJ doing this. And that has been the response from this congregation, much like the 3 kings who walked across a desert to stare in awe at a baby, much like the child who quietly wandered through the woods just to catch a glimpse of an owl. The response from the congregation has been wonder, awe, and love. I think we all find our way into this softening when we practice love without control. It is such a vulnerable act to love deeply, whether we are loving those individuals we know personally and care for intimately, or loving the whole of the interdependent web. It breaks our hearts sometimes, and it's a radical resistance to systems of oppression for us to find power in that vulnerability, in a love that is not about control. Those systems of oppression would have us trade in our vulnerability for a sense of security and order, but we can resist by staying soft, by making gentle space for all the children who need us, even the ones inside of us grown-ups. Loving wholly, even when it breaks our hearts. It's the power of the little girl in Owl Moon, She, like the three kings, treks across the winter forest just to lay eyes on a small and vulnerable being and know awe. She feels the power of a slowness, a softness, whose only purpose is to connect us creature to creature, to connect us to wonder at our aliveness together. At my very first congregational meeting in Canandaigua, I had done my bit, and to be honest, most of the minister's work around a congregational meeting happens in the year leading up to it. And one of our congregants, Megan, was trying to get herself ready to present a report in her leadership role while juggling a new baby. I can take the baby, I offered. Just as a note, I can always take the baby. I'm just here to observe for the rest of the meeting. Let me help. So she helped me to put her baby carrier on myself. I paced in the back of the sanctuary with tiny baby Maria sleeping on me while her mom did grown-up church work. And Megan felt like I was doing her a favor, offering some above and beyond pastoral care. But as I watched this congregation do the deep work of figuring out how we function as a community, while I held a squishy little pile of sleeping human, I was absolutely struck by the slow, soft power of congregational life. We, too, are traveling the long, slow road to bow down in awe before the vulnerability of being alive. We, too, are moving softly toward deeper connection to the vulnerability of life. A church is always slowly, sometimes too slowly for my taste, building the foundations of community for the generations that will follow us. We are always working to create a soft place in the world that insists power does not look like force and frenzy. We are always imagining a world that is soft enough to hold all our vulnerabilities without harm. And I'm not like a fancy theologian, but I really do believe that this is where the rubber of theology meets the road of our actual experience, that this is what Epiphany is about. Being in the presence of a baby is a holy and humbling moment. Here is a human fully dependent on others for their every need. And babyhood is a universal condition. We were all of us babies. The mundanity of it is sacred because it connects us to one another. Every person sitting here, everyone you ever loved or despised, every scheming politician, every king and every beggar, every stranger you ever passed on the street, arrived in the same way as a soft little mess of human need. And that is worth remembering when we find our grown-up selves or loved ones or neighbors in a soft mess of human need. So the spiritual task, I believe, at the start of this season of power is to look upon our own deep vulnerability with the same wonder and awe we find when we look upon a baby. To wait in the wilderness with quiet hope for our own vulnerable soul to alight. To show up fully in those circles of care that make soft, slow space for the soul. And as always, it's easier to see someone else's need and offer grace for it than it is to do for ourselves, isn't it? Ours is not a culture that values vulnerability. We lift up heroes with strength and bravery, but not the kind of strength it takes to let go of control, and not the kind of bravery required to move through the world with hearts unguarded. That softness is exactly what we admire in a baby, though. What we feel a primal urge to protect. I wonder if in this season we could let our own hearts be as soft as someone's who hasn't learned to shield it yet. If in a world that would sell us an ethic of power that violates our nature, we could let a baby be a reminder of what is natural and true, that we need one another. If we could let our own need for one another be as visible as someone's who is helpless on their own. Because, of course, we all are helpless on our own. We might buy into the myth of the rugged individual, but no amount of bootstrapping bravado will change the fact that none of us can survive without the interdependence of community. Could this be the winter we are soft enough to admit it? As a culture, we've made offering after offering to the idols of order and control. We've traded our softness for the promise of security. But if the story of Epiphany is teaching us anything, it's that that kind of power is not where holiness lies. That kind of power goes crashing through the wild, consuming everything in its path, and will scare away the soft creature of our soul. Letting go of that kind of power means embracing our insecurity, acknowledging that we, like every baby, are all soft, squishy piles of human need. It will mean moving at the speed of community. It will mean the truly hard task of learning to love without control, to move toward love without agenda or our own need for order and outcome, without dominance, just with hearts full of human need. It is such a vulnerable act to love deeply and without control, to love another human who cannot be our possession, to love a neighbor who looks more like a threat than a friend, to love a world that is hurting and broken and breaks our hearts sometimes. And we can share in the radical power of love only in as much as we share its vulnerability. It is only when we let go of our illusions of control, we know we live by the grace of this earth and one another, that we can even recognize love's abundance. It is a radical resistance to systems of oppression for us to find power in that vulnerability, in a love that is not about control. It means a willingness to stay soft enough for our hearts to break, to move slowly enough to leave no one behind. It means seeing the wounds of our siblings in Rochester, in Gaza, in Venezuela, in these pews beside you, and letting your soft and vulnerable heart be wounded too. That is the entrance to an interdependent power where love divine is abundant. And babies know how to do it. So I feel like we can probably figure it out. May it be so, and amen. And would you rise in body or in spirit now, friends, for our closing hymn, number 391, Voice Still and Small. I invite you to remain standing as Elizabeth extinguishes our chalice flame this morning. And let us read the words together printed on the screens. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice to the world we live in until we are together again. As we close our service this morning, I invite you to place a hand over your heart. If you are joining us online, I invite you to turn your settings to gallery view and look upon the faces of those gathered with you. And for those of us in this room, let us take a moment to look around at those here with us today. I offer you as a benediction these words from the Reverend Molly Hosh Gordon. Let this be the year we release our wish for resolution, but let it be unformed and sticky, rising, and let it be soft for God's sake. This year let us need and learn to stretch. Let this be the year we rest somewhere warm, and when we have doubled the dream of freedom, let this be the year we fill every belly with the possible and feast. Everyone is invited to join us in the Clara Barton Lounge for coffee hour immediately after the service, or to stay in the Zoom meeting for online coffee hour there. And if you're coming to Newcomers Circle, whether you're new or have been here for a while, you can meet us at the top of the stairs.